and welcome to the True North CFL podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Leach. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Leach CFL.
I'm Taylor Curry, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Taylor Curry SK.
And I'm Carter Kennington. You can follow me on Twitter at Carter Doing Radio and on Instagram at Carter Kennington.
All right.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, True North CFL Pod. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. What else are we on? Twitter.
All the fun stuff.
Facebook.
Yeah, we're everywhere. Just search us. You'll find us.
Oh, for sure. And then, so this episode is going to be about free agency coming up here. The tampering window, as of recording, is in 2 days. It's on January 31st.
Is that the actual term for it?
No, that's just what I call it.
Okay, I was
because that's what it is. It's the tampering window. It allows players to talk to other teams.
Yeah, but that'd be a wild name for it.
Credit to Derek Taylor. That's where I got that name from. So, yeah, that's what I just call it now. It's the tampering window.
Nice.
On Sunday, January 30th, the official free agency communication window opens. So they call it a communication window. But actual free agency begins February 9th. So,
oh man, we're actually sneaking up on that. January really did fly by, for me at least.
It did.
For sure, we'll probably do a post-free agency video kind of mid or end of February. We'll probably give it like 2 weeks after free agency.
Yeah, I was gonna say
done.
Probably end of. I feel like halfway through February, it's like only a week after the market opens, we wouldn't have enough moves.
Yeah, because it's like a week, it's like, okay, there's usually some big signings, but, week 2, there's also some, so I just want to wait a little bit first. So, You're wondering when you can expect our post-free agency show. It's not going to be the day of free agency. You got to chill. It's going to be a couple weeks after. So before we get into the top free agents at each position, let's break down needs for each team. So for BC, we have Canadian offensive linemen. As we know, they historically had one of the worst O-lines in CFL history in the previous season. So they did make some adjustments last year. They got Riker Matthews at tackle and a couple other guys, but I still think they need to bring in some more Canadian talent on the interior and maybe at tackle. Then I think I said defensive tackle is another one. They don't get a ton of pressure from the interior, so they probably need to find somebody there. And then maybe look at a running back upgrade because both John White and Rutley are free agents. So if you're going to upgrade at that position, now is the time.
My biggest question for a running back upgrade, though, is who do you upgrade from? Like, who's becoming a free agent that you could actually slot in there?
I would say Shaq Cooper from Edmonton, that explosive running back. Remember him?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they let CJ Gable go for, which, I mean, CJ Gable might still be a free agent. I can't remember. I didn't see him on the list, but I don't remember if he got signed in 2019 or not, so he might still be out there too. And then honorable mention, we have established backup quarterback. I mean, they have a lot of young guys. Like, they have Nathan Rourke, the Canadian phenom quarterback from Ohio. And they have Vinny Testaverde Jr. and Will Arndt. But I know some people I heard were clamoring that they need a more veteran backup. So how do you guys feel about those picks?
Yeah, no, I think those are the way to go. Definitely a running back upgrade would be a good idea. And yeah, the backup quarterback for sure is definitely needed there because if Mike's getting older in age, you need that veteran or just like a certified guy that can actually throw the ball down the field.
Yeah. I already made my opinion about this, about BC's situation known with the running back upgrade thing. But yeah, I agree with everything else.
Another thing that concerns me is they might lose Brian Burnham, so they might want to look at maybe signing some receivers. So, see what happens there. And then let's go to Calgary. So, I think number one, they need a running back. They kind of went through a bunch of guys the last time we saw them. And the only one that's really left is Kadeem Carey. So, maybe you look to sign someone to either upgrade from him or maybe a good backup for him. And
Yeah,
then
no, I agree.
and then for number 2, I had defensive end because they might lose Cordero Law as well, so you might want to look into either still trying to retain him or bringing in someone new or bringing in somebody back, as we'll get into later. And then Eric Rogers is also a free agent, and so they might be in the market for a wide receiver in the offseason. They also lost Reggie Begelton to the Green Bay Packers, and he just signed a futures contract with them, so he's going to be sticking around there.
Good to see.
I mean, if I could have one thing happen to Calgary, it would just be that none of these things get fixed, and they just spend a year in the basement for once.
Yeah, for
That's
once.
what I'd like. But no. But if we're talking about how to actually fix the team, that's what you got to. Those are the spots you got to hit.
For sure. And then Shane Bergman just retired, so that's concerning for them as well. I think with him being gone, he's one of the best all linemen in the league. I think you might look at the draft for that position. That or there's not too many linemen out there, so I don't know what you do for Calgary there.
That's the best place to get Canadian O linemen is the CFL draft, so I bet that's coming their way.
Definitely, when James and I do our mock drafts, I'll probably have to mark in no lineman to Calgary there. So, yeah, we'll see. And then we'll move on to the Edmonton football team. I almost said the Eskimos there, but caught myself. So number
Still
1.
said
it. Oh well. Okay, you got me there. All right, so let's go. Their number 1, I think, is Sam. Look at that roster. I don't really think they have a Sam right now. So that's definitely going to be a position of need for them. Defensive back, they have Jonathan Mincy, but I would like to see them maybe add a guy or two for their, back group there. And then defensive end American, because they lost Nick Usher, and unless they tend to go with 2 Canadian defensive ends, which I would be in full support of, they probably need to sign an American defensive end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can see a tandem of Kwaku Bote and Matthew Betts. I feel like that'd be really fun to watch, but at the same time, how often do you see 2 Canadian defensive ends starting on the roster,
Yeah, exactly. It's not, it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's not really a spot that you just want to plug a Canadian into, just for the sake of being a ratio number,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Usually there's like a defensive tackle in there if you're doing that. You shove the Canadian in the interior, but
you got Willie Jefferson and Charleston Hughes and people like that on the outside instead. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's move on to the Saskatchewan Roughriders here. Their biggest need is going to be they need a starting right guard to replace Dakota Shepley, who's with the San Francisco 49ers now. They lost Vladeck last year in free agency to Toronto, so he's gone, and they don't necessarily have anybody who can step in and fill that slot, on the roster. Maybe Braden Schramm, but ideally you'd like to go out and find somebody for that spot.
Mm.
And then number 2, I have linebackers. Both Solomon Alamimian and Cam Judge are free agents, so... Oh, and Otha Foster. So your 3 linebacker spots are very much in question right now.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah, I was talking to these guys before the podcast. I said, I feel like Saskatchewan's got a lot of their guys. And now that I hear that, never mind.
We've got a lot of guys on our offense done, but yeah, our defense, we got all our DBs signed too. But yeah, our front 7 is in trouble.
Every game's got to be a shootout or else you're just not going to win.
For sure.
You're going to need Fajardo to be dropping dimes, which he can. At least he did last year.
I would also say a defensive end American. I know we signed Freddie Bishop, but I mean, let's be real, he's no Charleston Hughes. Charleston Hughes is Charleston Hughes. He's one of the best in the game.
I think Sorry, I think you could even tie like a tackle into that too, because they cut Zach Evans this off season too, and you got McKenna Henry in there, but like that's kind of it. Looking at the roster too.
I'm just gonna look at our tackles real quick because I was fine with the tandem of Mac Henry and Charbel DeBeer for our American or not our American, our Canadian defensive tackles. I thought they were more than adequate, but I'm just gonna look. Yeah, Charbel DeBeer, Falk is a free agent. Oh, we
Yeah,
got one guy from Edmonton here. Oh, Sterling Shippey was the guy they really liked that we brought in. So
right.
it'll be
So
interesting to see what he does. Trenton Thompson was a star recruit in high school. Didn't necessarily work out for him in the NFL, so now he's with the Riders.
yeah,
So it'll be
hopefully, hopefully these guys will make a names for themselves in the CFL this year.
yeah, like the Riders have some interesting young defensive ends and defensive linemen in general that I'm really curious to kind of see. Like Chris Livens is another name that I look at and he could be really good. Demetrius Harris, another young defensive end who could be really good in the CFL. I think we still have AC Leonard, which is, I don't know if he's going to be like the number one defensive end. I think him and Bishop as a tandem, it's definitely a downgrade from Hughes and Leonard.
Yeah,
Leonard,
Leonard
but
did
yeah,
have a good year last year though, so I think he'll do all right. But even yeah, taking Hughes away if he doesn't come back, he was always double teamed, so that means Leonard's going to have another guy on him now or something like that. And
for
yeah,
sure, that's
it's
definitely a
going to be
concern.
less production. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then honorable mention, we have Sam because, like I said, in our front seven, all of our linebackers are free agents, including our Sam linebacker, Otha Foster. So that's another big concern we got to worry about. And now on to the Bombers. Number one, obviously wide receiver. When your top wide receiver only has like 700 or 800 yards, you need to upgrade. For them, I also put a Sam linebacker, and for three, I had DBs because they lost Sales and went. As
Bro,
Winston
he went
Rose.
to BC.
What? Really? I thought that was
Yeah.
I thought that was Jonathan Rose because there's Winston Rose and
No,
there's Jonathan
Marcus Sales
Rose.
went to BC on a 3-year
Oh no! Okay, I forgot. I
deal.
missed
A
that.
3-year deal.
Okay, see,
The
either
dude
way.
got recruited by Mike Riley. Like, he did.
Jeez.
He actually
Okay.
said that in an interview. And like,
Ouch.
it's unfortunate because Marcus Sales was great. But I mean, if that's where he wanted to go, he got us a championship. So I can't even be like, anyone can go wherever they want if they
Yeah.
were that, if they were that big for us getting that ring. So,
Oh, for sure. Y'all definitely need a DB there though.
but yeah, wide receivers, Brian Burnham. Dude, it starts tomorrow. We gonna be hitting them DMs.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hopefully. For Sam, I don't know who we gotta really target, but yeah, I mean, I'm just
Cam
excited.
Yeah.
Those things tend to happen.
Hey, they like
I
to
mean-
steal players from us, so I could see it.
I mean, I don't
That's what
think
I'm
it's
saying,
stealing when they all decide to sign with us.
I mean,
it's true.
You take our bum players though, like you take them when they're out of their prime as riders, and they come back.
Willie
Except
Jefferson?
for a guy like, well, okay, Jefferson and Dembski, fair, but Dembski was a hometown boy, and I don't know why we let Willie Jefferson go. That was a big mistake, but yeah.
I mean,
Could you imagine a tandem of
We'll
Willie
talk-
Jefferson and Charleston Hughes? That would have just been unfair.
Didn't we have that?
Did we? I don't remember if we did or not.
Yeah, we did.
I thought you had
Maybe
that for
for
at least
what-
a year.
Yeah,
I thought we had that for a year too, but it's just I don't remember it as well as I probably should.
That was like the year when Willie Jefferson was getting his pick sixes off the line.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
Dude, I will say this: there's nothing more fun than seeing a D lineman get an interception.
Oh,
Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, talking about my boy Jackson, he has one career interception, one-handed pick against Montreal.
nice.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just wild. It was before I knew him too, but I still went nuts.
It's dope.
It reminded me of that. It's NFL, but if you remember BJ Raji for the Green Bay Packers getting that pick six, I think it was in the playoffs or go to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah,
he just
yeah.
like this big 300-pound guy running down 20 yards for the pick six.
Jeez. Yeah, good luck stopping him if you're the quarterback who's
God,
180
I
pounds.
love those are my favorite type of videos on
Yeah.
the NFL, like and on any sports where it's like, you know, people like linemen when they do like a squib kick and the lineman gets it and he like
70
rumbles to the
yards.
10.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to tackle him. It's just like,
Yeah,
no.
nobody can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that Patriots lineman a couple years ago
Yeah,
that
and
did
he
that.
sat there and he's like holding the ball wrong and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
He's
did
never
that in
had
high
to.
school, though. We always had that one, or not high school, like grade school. We always had that one big kid at schoolyard football who none of you could tackle. It always took like three of
Yep.
you,
Yeah.
you know? So that's basically what that is, or that reminds me of. So let's move on to Hamilton. They badly need to replace, I think it's Mike Jones at receiver.
Mike Jones.
So they need to get a Canadian starter at wide receiver. I would say this is something you could easily solve in the draft because there's two sitting right there. And what's his face? Jesse Palmer, who just had some really nice highlights from the Senior Bowl. If you want to check that out, go to 3 Down Nation. They have the video there. And then they have Terrell Jana, who was the guy who beat out Dejon Brissett for the starting job at Virginia last year at receiver. He's a guy that is super good. He has 2 years of good production, so he can probably start in the CFL next year. Him or Palmer, I think both would be good options for Hamilton to look at and see. And then defensive back, another thing for them, and then linebacker. Because I think,
Yeah.
they're losing Larry Dean, I think, too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then we go to the Argos. They need defensive linemen. I put all across the board, basically, because they're losing Drake Nevis, and I really don't know what they have other than, like, a young Robbie Smith.
They've got I think Craig Rowe.
No, he's a free agent.
He's free.
He's a free agent too. Oh,
Yeah, they don't.
no.
They
Oh,
don't have
boy.
much over there.
Yeah,
So.
they gotta bring either Nevis because like those guys are both former Bombers. I know how good they both are.
Yeah,
you gotta bring one of them back.
Like Nevis is a great run stopper, and Rowe was always a very good guy in the rotation. So it was going to be interesting to see them started. But yeah, they're both free agents, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. Defensive back, that was a huge issue for them the last time we saw them. I don't want to say last season because technically last season was canceled, but you know,
2019 was the last
Yeah.
time we saw football, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, that hurts.
I was actually just having the thought before we got on here. Like that first game, if we like when we get back, it's gonna be so nice, and it's gonna be be very nice.
I'm so excited. I mean, like honestly, it's gonna be something cool because like Winnipeg's hosting the first season game back, the first regular season game back. But even if it wasn't like us, it's just gonna be a nice breath of fresh air to see that kickoff go. Hopefully with an arena filled with people or a stadium filled with people. Just
yeah.
I don't think we'll have that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we'll see how fast they roll these vaccines out. Because
I mean, I heard that we were supposed to have 20 million done by June.
Because, yeah, if we could get them done by June, what would happen is, we could have, no fans in preseason games, and then we could, or like limited fans, and then you could have people back who can prove they got their vaccine or whatever.
Yeah, I've had talks about that type of thing, but I feel like we're getting into politics with that, so let's keep the train moving.
Yup.
Wait, talking about COVID vaccines is politics now?
No, not COVID vaccines. Just the whole idea of having some form of verification for your vaccine,
Yeah,
because that's open to discrimination. Anyways, moving on.
Okay, that's fair. All right. And then I think we were on we're on Toronto.
Toronto,
Jesus,
we were, yeah.
Very long debate there. All right, and the third I had O-lineman because they have that young Canadian starting tackle, but they could definitely use some help I think they lost Ryan Bondman to retirement, so
Yep.
they definitely need to upgrade their offensive line. Speaking of that, we go to Ottawa, who was very tempted to put everything, but I didn't.
Yeah, it was a tough
I
one.
mean, I don't think they needed everything. It was just like all their skill positions.
All skill position. Yeah, okay. That's
Yeah, they
pretty
got
much
Lewis
it.
Ward, don't they? Yeah,
Yeah, they got Ward.
Yeah.
All right, and then so offensive line, and they're losing Evan Johnson, which is going to be an issue, so they have to address that. Defensive tackle, they got Cleon Lang, but they could use an American as well. And running back, John Crockett's a free agent, and you really don't have much behind him, so I feel
Yeah,
like they
there's
could
just-
use a running back.
Yeah, they just need a bigger, more. You lost William Powell, and he was your 1,000-yard guy, and they haven't had that or close to. So you got to find that guy.
For sure, and if you don't have a starting running back, how much pressure is that going to put on Nick Arbuckle to,
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna crush him.
like this is his first starting gig, you got to give him, probably a pretty solid running back to take at least some pressure off of him,
Yeah.
Exactly.
One guy that I'd like to see get more of a shot because he's kind of been a perennial backup, but I don't think he's a free agent this year, would be Tim Flanders.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
not
him.
bad.
Former Bomber. Let me see what he's up to right now.
Wasn't he with the Argos?
Most recent year was still with us, but he signed somewhere for
Ottawa.
2020. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he'd be
We'll
an
see.
interesting pickup. So now let's get into the top 3 free agents from each position. We do have honorable mentions for the positions that have a lot more free agents. Some obviously have more than others. So start off at quarterback. Our top quarterback free agent is McLeod Bethel Thompson, who recently played in the Spring League, which oddly enough was in fall this year. So, number 2, Antonio Pipkin. Most recently, he signed with the Eskimos after being with the Alouettes, and he's free agent again. And then Canadian phenom Michael O'Connor is a free agent. I really hope that someone signs him because I really like Michael O'Connor. And then honorable mentions to Montel Cozart, young quarterback Calgary was developing, and veteran CFLer Logan Kilgore.
Yeah,
mean-
no, I like that. I think McLeod, I really liked him, and I was excited to see him and Matt Nichols compete for the job there because I think they're both good and they compete well. But I think any team that picks him up, they could boost their quarterback stable for sure.
I mean, I think in the man of 3 last names, in his mind, he believes he is a starter, that he is good enough to be a starter. He does not want to prove that. He wants someone to give them the keys right away.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, after the year he had, everyone kind of thought he was a shoo-in anyway, so it makes sense. Yeah, I could see him going to a team that needs a good second QB, and he could fight for the starting job. But yeah, I really don't want to see Bethel Thompson fall into the land of perennial backups because I do think he's good enough to get a start. He just needs the opportunity.
For sure. I honestly think he's a better quarterback than Matt Nichols. And I don't see too many places where he can go compete for a starting job. Maybe Ottawa, if they're thinking about it. Cloud could probably push Arbuckle for that spot.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, let's say things collapse in Ottawa, they could call him. If he's not picked up mid-season, they could be like, "Yeah, come try to fix this." Or if nothing happens with NFL aspirations or something because he went to the Spring League, maybe Toronto takes him back too.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in Toronto because, just in my opinion, I think he could probably beat out Nichols.
Yeah.
And then, with quarterbacks out of the way, let's go to our running backs. So, at number 1, you got Shaq Cooper, who was super explosive as a running back in Edmonton last time we saw him. Number 2, Brandon Rutley. Number 3, Terrell Sutton. And honorable mentions to James Wilder, who recently went into coaching. He's listed as a free agent, so I don't know if he's retired, or, maybe he'll come back if someone gives him a call. We got John Crockett, Chris Rainey, and John White are all free agents at running back.
Yeah, I think honestly, like Shaq Cooper, he could be a number one guy in the league and compete with like the bigger names in the league. Not quite Andrew Harris, I don't think, but like he to me is almost he could be on par with someone like William Powell. So yeah, I think he should be picked up pretty quick by somebody for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names here that like they seem to be all close together, like all pretty close together, I find.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's all about like all these guys will help your teams. It's all about what type of running back I find almost.
Yeah, definitely. Like Terrell Sutton, he went to Hamilton at the end of the year. He was pretty good there. And then Brandon Rutley, when he got to play, he was really good. Wilder was criminally underused in Toronto, and when he did get used, he played well. And then Crockett was pretty decent in Ottawa. Yeah, Rainey is just all around. He's a guy that, he's explosive, play, he can kick return, he can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think all those guys are pretty good. Shaq Cooper, I could totally see him going to BC or Ottawa and being a guy there. Then James Wilder, he was with Montreal to replace Stanback, but I think Stanback is back with Montreal now, so I'm not sure where he's going to go. Now, on to our wide receivers. There's some really good free agents at wide receiver this year.
You could make an entire receiving line out of the wide receivers that are going to be free agents.
You could make a team of free agents. They'd have a scary wide receiving core to work with here. Here are our top 3 wide receivers. Number 1, Brian Burnham. Number 2, Greg Ellingston. And then we got number 3, Eric Rogers, with honorable mentions going to Devere Posey, Levi Noel, Jadarian Grant, Quan Bray, what's it called? Pending his charges, obviously.
Yeah, if he's allowed.
Yeah, because I thought he couldn't, and that's why Montreal released him, because he was caught, for those who don't know, with a NFL player from the Browns. They were trying to smuggle 150 pounds of marijuana across the border from Mexico to the United States, and they got caught and arrested, so...
By accident.
Sure, by accident.
By
man.
accident,
By accident, man. Yeah, sure. Someone just handed him a bunch of bags, like, what's in the bag? I don't know, just bring it across the border. Like, bro. But, yeah, like, if he can play, sure, he's a very good player, so obviously people would love to have him. And we also got Kenny Lawler, the Bombers' leading receiver from last year, Lucky Whitehead, and Kenny Stafford.
Yeah, the list is unbelievable. Like some of these guys, they're Grey Cup, really like key players in the Grey Cup to win it. And Brian Burnham is arguably the best receiver in the league, like behind maybe Brandon Banks. Like he's up there, and Canadian too. No, wait, he's not.
No,
is
he's
he
not.
Canadian?
No, he's
no,
not.
sorry.
Yep.
I was thinking of somebody else. But yeah, Greg Ellington, Eric Rogers, Devere Posey, Kenny Stafford, Lucky Whitehead, like there's depth there, and these names are going to move around when free agency drops here, I bet. Quickly.
I'm so excited to see where these guys end up. I am so excited.
I'm scared Brian Burnham's going to go to Calgary. In my opinion, he is the best receiver in the league, because I think he can.
My headset.
He can do more. He can do more than Brandon Banks. That's why I think he's a better receiver.
I'm so mad that you just suggested that. Like my brain did not consider that.
Hey man, Eric Rogers is a free agent, and they play the same spot.
I'm so angry.
You never know if Calgary is, feel like they could spend the money, they might fork it out for Brian Burnham to replace Eric Rogers.
I feel like the one Stephen A. Smith meme where he's just like, no.
James, our resident draft and prospect expert, would love that because he's a Stampeders fan, but obviously he's not here, unfortunately, to give his opinion on that. So, Let's move on to O-linemen. Surprisingly, there actually wasn't a lot of O-linemen in free agency. I thought there would be more, but there's not. Last year there was a ton of them, but this year it's not so many. At number 1, we have Sir Vincent Rogers, formerly of the Edmonton football team. He got injured in the last season, played in 2019, and didn't play that year. But before that, he was a premier offensive tackle in Ottawa, so he's got a lot of talent. Matt O'Donnell is number 2, the Canadian 6'11" offensive lineman. And then we got Canadian Evan Johnson, formerly of the Ottawa Redblacks, with honorable mentions to Justin Renfro, offensive tackle. I believe he last played for BC. And a young guy with a lot of potential, Cody Speller, Canadian offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's not a lot of depth to it, but I mean, there's some really good names there, and Canadian names too. So, like Sir Vincent Rogers, he could really boost somebody like, let's say, going back to Ottawa. That won't happen, but like even Montreal could use him, or let's say Calgary. But yeah, he's a good name to have on your team for sure.
I just had a terribly amazing thought cross my mind about Cody Speller. So, for those in the know, or well, just for those who are aware, Winnipeg traded him to, I think, Toronto in exchange for the. They moved up 4 spots in the draft or something. They traded the negotiation rights for Cody Speller. What if Cody Speller just re-signs with Winnipeg? What if this was a move just to screw them out of 4 spots in the draft? Is that allowed?
I don't know.
If he just waits, surely that's some form of tampering if it is a thing that they're trying to plan out.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing wrong with that, that could be the perfect crime.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's when not the same, but kind of like when Durant took a $70,000 signing bonus and then retired.
Dipped. Yep. That was great.
Yeah. Hey,
every Rider fan was smiling that day.
It's smart business.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, if a team's giving me $70,000 and I'm debating retirement and I decide to retire after, I'm not giving you your money back.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's what a signing bonus is.
Exactly.
When they sign, so.
And it's the CFL, so get your money when you can.
Exactly. And then, yeah, I could see Montreal wanting one of those 2 Canadians because they just lost a guy who retired at age 25. I believe it was Trey Rutherford decided to retire. So I wish him the best. He was a super good Canadian guard, so I could see them bringing in either Matt O'Donnell or Evan Johnson to replace him. And then let's go to the defensive side of the ball now. So at defensive tackle, we got number 1, Micah Johnson. Number 2, Zach Evans, who was released by the Riders. And Stephen Charles, formerly of the Edmonton football team. He didn't get a chance to play for them, but before that, he had been in the NFL for a good long while. And then honorable mention to Drake Nevis.
Micah, he's gonna, whoever he ends up on, I mean, I think he'll do well. The year he had with the Riders was a down year, but he's just gonna bounce back from it. But somebody I really like though is Drake Nevis. When he was with Winnipeg, just something about him, I really like him and the way he plays, and I think he could help boost somebody I'd be okay with him in Saskatchewan, coming in with Zach Evans gone now.
I mean, it's he's a good pickup. He's a surprisingly good pickup that's gone under the radar. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. He wasn't a superstar in Winnipeg, but he got the job done, and I feel like that went a little bit unnoticed. So
yeah.
I mean, if I was Saskatchewan and he comes around and he signs with you guys, I'd be pretty happy with that, to be honest.
Definitely. Nevis is a guy that, his stats aren't going to jump out at you because I think one year he only had 4 sacks or something like that. But the thing is, you got to remember, A, he's an interior defensive tackle. They don't get a ton of sacks. And then B, he's more of a run-stopping defensive tackle. So He's not always going to get to the quarterback, but he's going to help stop the run a ton. So, yeah, I'd welcome him on the Riders for sure. So, on to defensive end. We have number 1, Charleston Hughes. That really hurts as a Rider fan. I'm really hoping we can get him back, but we'll see. And then number 2, Cordero Law, formerly of Calgary. And Chris Kasher, who had last free agency signed with BC, but last played with Calgary. Honorable mentions to Alex Bazzi, Craig Rowe, and Adrian Tracy.
Yeah, like if as a Rider fan, if we don't get Charleston Hughes back, but we get Alex Bazzi, I'm okay with that exchange. I would be a little younger. I think he's a little bigger too. Yeah, I'd be okay with that one. But that's some really big names on that list that could I mean, as much as these other names too, but they could just really boost somebody who really needs it. Like, could you imagine Charleston Hughes going to Winnipeg?
Oh
And
God.
then him and Willie team up again, and
Ugh.
that would be
I
be
mean,
insane.
I mean, that's fair, but I don't think they're going to.
No.
I don't think Charleston would sign here. I don't think Winnipeg would really pursue them in the position that they're in right now.
For sure, because no one's going to spend the bag for people. The only people I can see spending to the cap are Toronto because they're owned by a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, so they probably don't care if the Argos spend to the cap, even in a pandemic.
It's not even that, but you got to look at they've signed, the Bombers have signed guys like Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffcoat. Those are some solid names. Charleston Hughes is probably going to cost a lot. Maybe not as much as Jefferson, but probably more than Jeffcoat. Is the upgrade that you're getting worth the amount more that you'll have to pay Charleston Hughes? Plus, you've already paid Jackson. He's with the team already.
I would say no, because most teams are spending to the floor. They're not spending to the cap.
Yeah, it's you want to I'd say hold on to what you got. And plus, I mean, that tandem works. We saw it happen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be necessarily stressed, but for a team that's looking to spend, Charleston Hughes would probably be very happy to provide services to a team like Toronto.
Oh, no doubt. And then I look at our linebackers here again. We're going to go to that. Number 1 is Canadian Henoch Mwamba. Number 2, Cam Judge. 3, Larry Dean. With honorable mentions to Sullivan Alamimian, Kevin Brown, both Justin and Jordan Herdman, both Canadians from St. FX. Or not St. FX, they went to Simon Fraser. My bad. And then Dion Lacey, formerly of the NFL, Javon Santos Knox, Justin Tuggle, Canadian Adam Bonar, and Avery Williams.
A whole gang of linebackers.
Yeah.
Those are some good linebackers.
Yeah, Henoch, Cam Judge, and Larry Dean. If you put them on a team, you have one of the best linebacking cores in the league.
I have an unpopular opinion. Well, it might be an unpopular opinion. If you take everybody that is slated to be a free agent this year and you make them if let's say everybody who's a free agent becomes a team, the Schooners, they win the Grey Cup this upcoming year.
No, 100% they win it. Without a doubt, the only position
huge weakness at any position. Really,
I'm trying to look at our list here. Where would they be weak? Maybe defensive back.
Quarterback. Otherwise, quarterback. You hand Bethel Thompson the keys, basically saying, "Hey, if you screw this up, we're dead in the water." But again, if he performs, then you're good.
He's just got to chuck it in the air because he's got Brian Burnham, Greg Ellingson, Aaron Rodgers,
and Devere Posey, and Levi Noel.
Literally, you have Justin Medlock and Brett Lauer doing rock paper scissors every single game just to see who takes the kicks. Because it's going in either way.
James Wilder, Shaq Cooper in the backfield. You're on.
Oh my God! Yeah, if this was a team, they'd win the Grey Cup for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They even got a really good Sam, which we can get into in a second here. But yeah, I look at where these guys could go because the Riders are going to need some linebackers with them possibly losing both Judge and Alamimian. So
they got their picks coming, apparently.
Oh yeah. And then we got our Sam linebackers now we're going to move into. Number 1 being Patrick Levels. Number 2 being Don Unumba. Number 3 being Bo Lacumbo. And honorable mentions to Chris Aki, DeMarco Murray, and Otha Foster.
Yeah, I really like Patrick Levels and Chris Aki, so yeah, I mean, I'd be okay if Patrick came to the Riders or Chris Aki, either way. And I mean, Otha, of course, I'd be happy if he came back, but yeah, those are some good names.
I would
It's
love to have
yeah,
Bo
just an
Lacombo
all-star
on
team.
the Riders because he can play literally everywhere. Like he
Yeah.
plays DB, he plays safety, he plays Sam. I think he's played Will before. He's played everything. So he's just one of those guys you can put anywhere. So I would love to see him on the Riders.
What do you even say anymore? I feel like we've said
Yeah.
like
Yeah, like
everybody
No doubt.
everybody on this list is special. Like
for sure.
and like it's just insane.
And then for cornerbacks, this is a potential weakness of the all free agency team. Though there are some good players here. We got
Just you
number
don't got a lot
one.
of depth.
Yeah, true. Number 1, Keontae Evans. Number 2, Frankie Williams. Number 3, Money Hunter, who I like Money Hunter, I'm not gonna lie. And then honorable mentions Godfrey Onyeka, Canadian. Got to put the asterisks in there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, good. I mean, yeah, I'd take Frankie Williams because he can return the ball on the kicks too. So yeah, I'd take him.
I like Money Hunter because he's young. He's also a super talented defensive back. Keontae Evans is established and he's really good.
Yeah.
Too, like, all of these guys, even Godfrey Onyeka is a pretty good young Canadian defensive back. So, yeah, a guy like him even, like, all these guys are good, you know? And we go to safety. Surprisingly enough, we couldn't find 3 safeties. There actually was. I've genuinely looked at the entire free agent list trying to find a third safety. I could not find one. So we got number 1, Taylor Loeffler. People forgot about him. He's gonna wreck some people next year when he comes back.
He had a down year. He had a down year in
I thought he got
Montreal.
hurt and was out for the season or something in Montreal. That's why he didn't play.
He when he was around, he wasn't making a lot of plays either. Like because he had a couple of games at least.
Did? Let me look.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
I was sure he was out for the season. I'm going to check this right now. Oh no, you're right. He played 6 games with Montreal. He did have a pick and a forced fumble though, so he did have a little bit of an impact for sure. But
no. I mean, I've heard from a couple of people that he's not the greatest locker room guy.
Really? Ooh,
yeah.
All right, you'll have to tell us about that off air. But yeah, well, that's interesting. And then number 2, we got Brandon Dozier, former CFL All-Star. He's an American though, so generally a lot of teams don't take Americans at safety. So he's a guy that plays anywhere. He can play DB too. He's played Sam in the past, so that's a guy that is just all around good. And then on to special teams because we didn't want to separate the kickers and punters. So number 1, we got Justin Medlock, most accurate kicker in CFL history. We got Brett Lowther and John Ryan. So
it's an all-star cast right there.
Those are some names. Those are like 2 of the 3 best place kickers in the CFL, and John Ryan, who's one of the best punters in the entire league too.
Yeah.
What more can you say?
Exactly.
They're literally, they're the best. Like, what? There's one name you could add to this that would be like, that would just make it better, I think. And I mean, that would be Ward, but he's still with Ottawa. So.
Ward or Richie Leone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's go to our COVID activities. So for me, I'm going to recommend a show I discovered on Netflix called To the Lake. Basically, it's about a pandemic hits Moscow of this super deadly virus, and this dad has to get not only his kid and his ex-wife, but also his new wife and her autistic son, as well as his dad and another family, to this cabin that his grandfather built out, obviously, at the lake. That's why it's called To the Lake, but it's super good. Great show. It's really fun to watch, and I highly recommend it.
I might have to watch that.
Yeah.
I've just been working lots, working from home. It's almost been a year of working from home now, so it's It's all right. And playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, trying to get good online, but it's tough when people have been playing for a couple of years and you're getting pwned by 10-year-olds.
I do have to hold up and put an asterisk between my recommendation. It is not a family-friendly show because there is some nudity and it's a pretty gory show. So just like my previous recommendation, The Boys on Amazon, that one you should definitely watch.
Great
Like this
show.
one you should debate. The Boys, go watch that right now. That is such a good show. Yeah, but I just had to put that warning out there because it's not something you want to watch with your kids. But if you're a teenager or an adult, go ahead and watch it.
Yeah. I had so for people who, I think I've said this on the show before, but I used to work at EB Games, and I spent a lot of my time there talking with people about what type of games to get and all that. And one that I spent a lot of time trying to get people to steer away from was Assassin's Creed. It wasn't that good, and I ended up picking up one because it was on sale, and they've really proved me wrong. At least with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I've heard that some other ones are really bad, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey is surprisingly amazing. As well as Rocket League. It's free.
Yeah, Rocket League's free now.
It's soccer with cars that fly around. It's great.
Rocket League.
So fun.
I was actually so good at Rocket League at one point. Like
so fun.
I was diamond in competitive mode for a while.
Your friends finally made it to diamond, actually.
Oh god, yeah. It's fun. I highly recommend it. It's free. I can't believe it's free now. I remember back when you had to pay for it. Now it's free. That's awesome.
And it's been around for like 5 years.
Bro.
Yeah.
And then let's do our Super Bowl picks now. And my pick is the Chiefs. I just don't think Tampa's young secondary is going to be a match for Patrick Mahomes. And I think if it turns into a shootout, A, I like Kansas City's defense better. And B, I like the Chiefs offense as a whole more than I like Tampa's if it turns into a shootout. Then again, it's Tom Brady, so
yeah,
I could be wrong. We'll see.
It's going up against Tom Brady, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's trying to prove something. I wouldn't want to be in his way right now. I think it's going to be I think it is going to be a shootout, but Tom comes out on top. Bucks.
So I'm like in my heart, I felt, or like my head is saying Chiefs, but when I was making my picks for the Grey Cup, I was saying Winnipeg, not because of what my head was saying, but because of what I felt was just going to happen. And what I feel is going to happen is I feel like the Bucks are going to do it. I feel like something's going to go wrong, whether it's just whichever team has ball last or someone just goes huge, like just an insane catch or something. Like Rob Gronkowski reintroduces himself as like one of the league's best again. Like I feel like someone on the Bucks is going to have a monster game, and it's going to be someone. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be somebody that we really expect it to be. I think it might be
it's going to be Scotty Miller. It's going to outrun everybody.
Canadian it's going to be tight end Anthony Auclair.
I was going to say, yeah, if you need another reason to cheer for the Bucks, they got Canadian tight end and Riders draft pick Anthony Auclair on their team.
Ooh, yeah, plus, I would love it if Tom Brady, because like I dislike people saying like, oh, the only reason Tom Brady has those chips is because of Belichick. It'd be nice for Tom Brady the first year that he goes to a different team, immediately wins, and it's like, well, it was definitely not Belichick.
Well, you look at the Patriots right now. You look at the Pats right now. Where are they? So yeah, it definitely wasn't all Bill who got those rings. Tom definitely had a part in that. So
yeah.
It'd definitely be a good game. Yeah, for sure.
Just make sure to stay away from Jackson Mahomes' TikToks.
Oh God, yeah. Hey man, I actually put out the idea of us making one of those, so I'm not shutting the door on that one yet. But
a Jackson Mahomes TikTok?
Like a True North CFL podcast TikTok.
Nah.
Yeah, no, we're not doing. I've seen that stuff on NFL memes IG. We're not gonna be doing that if we ever do make a TikTok and we announce that. It's gonna be highlights. That's all it's gonna be.
I seen that too, but Patrick got a concussion and he was just doing dances in a box. Like,
I saw that. I was like, no.
Oh.
Hey, and pride comes before the fall. Let me just
Oh,
got
yeah.
a couple examples of that.
Exactly.
Most importantly, Steelers.
Oh, yep.
Chase Claypool and
Oh.
Juju.
Hey,
what
no,
are
Ju-
you doing?
Don't
Yeah,
diss
Juju
Mapletron.
killed that.
Juju, yeah. Juju was the one who
Oh.
danced on the opponent's turf. Blame him for all that. Keep my
That
boy
was-
Chase
like-
Claypool out of this.
To quote the YouTube channel Urinating Tree, Chase Claypool was also one of those guys who had more TikToks than actual receptions.
It's true.
Oh
he did
yeah,
have a lot. Yeah.
that's probably true.
See,
Unfortunately,
my brother's Steelers fans, and he didn't talk to me for about a week after they lost because he was.
Oh, God.
I just brought up Juju, and yeah, it was just over. He
Hey,
wouldn't
you
talk
watching
to me. He
Juju's
was
TikToks?
So mad. Yeah, he was so mad.
God, I can't say it. They lost to the Browns too. Just put some
Yeah.
extra salt in there.
Yeah.
Yo, Tom Brady almost changed his number. I'm seeing on Instagram
Yep.
now.
To
He
number
almost
Yeah.
7.
changed it to 7 to get his 7th ring.
Wow.
That-
That'd be funny.
He's a gangster.
Oh, for
He's a
sure.
gangster.
But I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in TB12.
Oh yeah.
Yep, for sure. And
Well,
so,
he probably gave Godwin a nice little check too, though.
oh, for sure, yeah, he probably would have. Or Godwin would have given it out of respect. Who knows? Because that happens sometimes too. When
Oh,
Honestly,
I comes
Tom
to a
Brady's
team.
got so much money, I wouldn't have felt bad for being like, yo, sauce me a quick 6-figure check and you
Yeah.
got this.
exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Need to
either.
buy
It's,
my
it's
mama a
the
new car.
NFL. It's the NFL, man. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, you got a baby mama you need to take care of. Here's some cash.
Somebody say 3% of TB12 merchandise sales.
Oh God. Oh, man.
Genius. That'd be genius.
That's like when George Lucas got all the merch rights to Star Wars. Just a little history lesson for you folks who don't know that. Because
Yeah.
he didn't get
Sold it
paid.
cheap.
He didn't get paid a ton of money to make the original Star Wars, but he said he wanted all the merchandising rights to the franchise. And Fox, who originally made it, was like, "Oh, sure, why not?" And I'm sure they're regretting that now because, yeah, it's a $1 billion franchise with tons of merch. So, and I believe with that, I think we're gonna wrap the show up. Anything from you guys?
No, I think we're good, right?
Yeah, just
Covered all the stuff.
I just pray that the CFL comes back. I mean,
No.
nothing says it's not going to, but
Can't remember if I
it's
asked
just been
this or
so
not.
long without.
But on a percentage basis, what percentage do you give it that the CFL comes back in 2021?
60.
I was gonna say around that, probably a little less, like 55%, because I still think there's a better chance that it comes back than it doesn't, but it's not much more than a coin flip for me.
I was at
Yeah, like-
85%, man, but
But
we'll
it's
see.
with the vaccines getting delayed and everything, and
Yeah.
they're gonna have to have you're gonna have to be vaccines. So let's just say, and like it. Sorry, we get most of our money from fans being in the stands. So if they can't do it, I could see them just skipping another year to try to save money.
Maybe. I don't like it if they do that though. I think that's cause for alarm if we skip another year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll wrap up the show. If you want to find us, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud, or Spotify. I'm your host, Jimmy Leach, and this is the True North CFL podcast signing off.